Welcome to Spill the Tea with Kat V. Hi, everyone. I'm Kat, and I am so excited to be here with all of you guys. As you guys know, and if you've watched the trailer, I'm launching this podcast to spotlight leaders and professionals, as well as healers and game changers in our communities that are really changing the game in conscious living. And I wanted to personally thank and introduce Leah Crescenzo, who's here to be my first guest and to talk a little bit about the work that she does and how inspirational she has been for not just me, but others in her community and globally. Thank you, Leah, for being here today with us.
Thank you, Kat, for having me. I'm really thrilled to be one of your first guests to spotlight what you're up to, this big mission that you have to bring awareness to healing
Thank
through your own practices and the healing of others.
Oh, thank you so much. And I was so excited that you decided to be my first guest because I have leaned to you in several times. I met you in 2020 when I reached out for some support when I felt very stuck. And then again, this year in 2025, I felt stuck. And many of us have felt stuck in many different ways. And, you've been my go-to for these areas. And I find it I'm just so thrilled that you're here to support and also the perfect person to start the podcast with. And I wanted to share a little bit about how you've impacted me. The work that you do has really helped me not only get unstuck, but also helped me reprogram my subconscious. And so I wanted to ask you a couple questions, and first started off by asking you about the transformational work that you do. You are a transformational coach, you're a hypnotherapist, and you're a rapid transformational therapy practitioner. So my very first question for you is, can you share a little bit with us about the work that you do and the impact to your clients?
Yeah, so I do rapid transformational therapy and hypnotherapy and coaching and all of those different ways of working with people. I'm working with the inner realms. So it's not like logical, like talking coaching. It's more like we're looking for the inner barrier. We're looking for the inner blocks that are keeping someone stuck, that keep someone repeating patterns that aren't working, or keeping people in disbelief of what their potential is or what their possibilities are. So, in all these different ways of working with people, we're really working with a different level of consciousness to activate and access the story that's keeping them from moving forward.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah. And your work really is transformational and has helped has helped me personally. So thank you for doing the work that you do. Before you went into this work, what were you doing before you were in this kind of soul aligned mission that you do?
Yeah, well, so I went to school for graphic design, and within a few years of working in graphic design, I went back to school for yoga and yoga therapy. And then I would go back to work in graphic design. And then I went back to school for health coaching. And then I went back to work in graphic design. And then I went back to school for hypnotherapy. So, like, I've always had this yin and yang of being in the creative arts and then going into the healing arts. And in 2020, when everything was shutting down, I let go of the creative arts, the graphic design side, and launched fully into my business. I had been doing my business since 2015, 16, but part-time in graphics and part-time in healing. And then 2020, ever since then, I've just been fully in hypnotherapy and transformational coaching.
How did you know that healing, uh, transformational coaching, hypnotherapy, and the other work that you do, like, was your calling? Like, how did you know that that was your mission?
Yeah, I think it was just, I had this conversation with somebody recently. I was in my early 20s when I was called to start studying this stuff, and it made no sense. And it was like this inner drive, this inner fire of like, I'm so fascinated by this. Like, I want to understand more. And so I just followed that lead. At the time I had not, I had very little responsibility, so it was accessible to me to go to school, to go away to school, to spend money on this stuff. And so it just lights me up. It's something I remember always hearing, that you're in your purpose if you can spend like all night learning about something, or like you're not watching the clock when you're learning about something or when you're doing something. And that's how I feel about all of this work. I think anything that has to do with the subconscious and the unseen, like the unseen realms, is just so magical and mystical to me that it captivates my attention. And I just always want to know more. And then as I'm working with clients through this and seeing the transformations that they're creating for themselves through this work, it's encouraging and it's inspiring. And to me, it's almost magical. So it just keeps me going in the interest of it. But it's always been heart led. It's always been something that, my passion is calling me to keep going.
So I have a bit of a cough, so recovering from a cold. So you may hear me coughing, or I may mute during our time, just so that you don't hear me coughing too loudly.
Yeah, you're fine. Yeah.
Uh, yeah, and so another question I had was, there are many of my viewers, including myself, that are looking to transition, whether it's transitioning from government to private sector, or transitioning from, relationships, or, even professionally, all kinds of transitions happening. The kind of transition that I see a lot of my viewers having right now is wanting to transition from, a 9 to 5 job to a job where it's soul aligned, where it's mission driven, where it's heart, what you're experiencing and what you've talked about. Can you share with us, how long did it take to do that sort of transition from, the standard 9 to 5 to that soul alignment? And how long did you take, and any advice you can give to those that are seeking to do the same?
Yeah. So for me, it took at least 5 years. I was doing part-time graphic design and part-time my work. So I had really created it this way. And actually, I did it through a paraliminal. There's something called paraliminals. They're online, and it's like it speaks to different hemispheres of your brain. And I remember listening to this one paraliminal, and what I was asking for at the time, and this is 2015, was to find a part-time job making enough money so that I could be building my corporate wellness business on the side. And within a month, I got an interview for this job that was going to be a full-time position, and it was in advertising, so it would have really commanded a lot of my attention. And I got the job offer, and I knew I didn't want to do a full-time job, and so I really stood in like the knowing of like, this is what I want, and so I'm going to ask for it. And I asked for it to be part-time, and they actually opened the position as a part-time position for me. So for a lot of years, I had this part-time graphic design job while I was building this corporate wellness business, and then I on to do my own stuff. So I did that, very comfortably for a lot of years. And then, like I said, in 2020, once things shut down, that kind of like pushed me out of the nest to really just go out on my own, and I had to create a lot of trust that things would come together, that I would have enough clients, that, I could really build this out. And I did. Like I just believed in the process of it, and things started to unfold and opportunities showed up. And so that I almost had like a little bit of the support of 2020 of like, sorry, you can't go to work anyway, right? Like that 9 to 5 was taken from me.
Wow. Um, that's really helpful. Thank you for sharing that. Um, yeah, it's really nice to demystify how people have been able to shift, and to know, give us some ideas of how we can, the steps we can take. So thank you for sharing that. Um, yeah, I guess, what advice can you share with others who are creating their soul aligned businesses now?
I think keep going. I know it is hard. It is definitely hard when things like aren't showing up in the physical yet. But I really believe that everybody is here with their unique purpose. And what's fascinating to me is not fascinating to the next person. And what you're doing with frequency is like, I love that concept, but that's not a concept that I would do, because that's your purpose, that's your mission on this planet. And so I think the advice is that to trust that you're given this gift to be put out, to be seen, to be recognized, and you're going to grow. I think entrepreneurship is the greatest source of personal growth that there is. Like, if you're going to step out and be an entrepreneur, like, you have to be visible, which is really uncomfortable. You have to have self-belief, which is really uncomfortable. You have to, stand by your like concept, which, can be difficult. Like, there's a lot that we have to grow through as we're building like our businesses, which a lot of times is it's a piece of our identity. Like, at least I believe that for you too, but I believe, like, for me, like, my business is a piece of my identity. Like, as I put myself out in what I love to do, I'm really showing people who I am. I believe you're the same way in frequencies.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I mean, thanks for talking, or, mentioning frequencies, because, you're right that this is something, at least for me, it's a new, it's a new business that I developed where I combine frequencies and teas, but it's something that came from a place of healing, and um, happened many years ago, actually, when close to the time that I reached out to you, maybe a year afterwards, is when I kind of received the download or the information about creating frequencies, merging old technology with new technology, which is frequency healing with crystals and teas, and using ancient teas that helped us with healing and helping us connect with our higher self. So yeah, the next question was actually about, kind of merging the similarities in that. So, I have clients that purchase my teas because they're going through a spiritual awakening, they're looking for healing, they're looking to heal their mind, body, soul. Where do you see that happening with your clients and the work that you do?
Yeah. So clients that reach out to me are looking for healing, in that, you know, when, like, just like what we're saying about, if you're going to go into entrepreneurship, there's something that's blocking you, most times, right? Or else we'd all just like step out and be like insanely successful right out the gate. That there's a lot of times that there's these like blocks and barriers that we don't know what the story is, that are blocking people. And so through healing, so, mind is like the limiting beliefs, the stories, the subconscious. The body is, a lot of times, it shows up physically. Like, the body will try to keep people, in their familiar by like kicking up, pains or illnesses. And soul is a lot of like discontent, when people are just feeling discontent. And so our bodies are so miraculous in that it it really guides us to the healing that we need. And through my work, we explore that. So we go into the body, we go into the subconscious, we go into, these other realms to find like what needs to be resolved. Like, what pains or things from the past are still playing out.
Yeah, and working with you personally, I definitely noticed the transformation that happened. So I can attest to the changes that your work has done for at least for me, and I'm sure so many other clients that you have.
Mm.
And I hope that um, the people, viewers watching and people checking in, know that they're supported in so many different ways, and that healing really is a big importance right now, especially with all the changes happening, and our healing journeys look all different. So this year, my healing journey is more of a physical one, health wise, and then, also professionally, just starting frequent teas and this podcast has been really a big shift for me to show myself what you talked about, presenting myself more genuinely and open and honest and showing the rawness of it all. That's a lot, and yeah, so I thank you for sharing, what you just shared and the work that you're doing, because I know it's helping so many of us. Thank you.
Yeah. And I know it's not easy to be seen and step out and share your story. So I really recognize you for starting this podcast. A lot of people talk about starting a podcast and sharing their stories and sharing their missions. And this is like one of those inner blocks and barriers that just doesn't get to move, like that keeps a person from moving forward. And so I'm acknowledging that you are doing it and you are here and you're starting where you are. Like, because sometimes people think like you have to be perfect to start, and you're starting exactly where you are, which is so incredibly inspiring.
Thank you, Leah. I couldn't have done it without your help. I really couldn't. I had a lot of blocks, like what you mentioned, and I still am working through them slowly. And yeah, and I'm sure our viewers here really could also benefit from the kind of work that you do and the support that you offer. And yeah, just really thankful that like healing is actually now starting to be in the forefront. People are recognizing the importance of it in terms of even our finances, business, the correlation between them, and also just wellness in general. So, yeah, I've noticed that come up so much this year, and it's, I have done already a lot of healing work. To get to this place, but it feels like healing never ends, and it's just opens new and new layers. So, in your current, you've been in your solo line work for some time. So at this point, what is it for you in terms of your healing journey? Where are you, and how has that changed over the years that you've been immersed in the work that you do?
Hmm. I love that question. Thank you. So I was focused on hypnotherapy for a long time. Like personally, that was the work that I was doing for myself. So it was a lot of like going into the past and figuring out like what had created or what was there, what blocks were there for me. And I realized over the last year that a missing piece was projecting forward, like really connecting with the future and pulling myself forward towards that future, because I believe that focusing so much on going in the past and like what hasn't worked and almost like victimization was like keeping me, like I was releasing a lot of the blocks and I was releasing a lot of things that were keeping me stuck, but I was not jumping forward. And so over the last year, I I am in a coaching program, but also I'm being coached. And that has been a huge benefit to me. So it's shown me that it's both. It's this and it's so what I mean is like it's so important to heal what's like keeping you grounded in the past, because like our mind really does feel safe in the familiar, and the familiar is what is already seen, and what's familiar, like obviously what's familiar is like it's safe. And so our mind wants to stay back there. So it's like we have to go back and heal that stuff and disconnect from that stuff and process that stuff and upgrade that stuff. And then truly, like, I felt like the missing piece over the last year was now moving forward. So what does it look like? What does your future look like? Who is that future version? What is she feeling? What does she look like? What are her beliefs? What is that identity? And letting yourself be pulled forward into that identity of possibility. So it's like this, like, so it could be the spiral of like going back and healing the past, but then going forward and stepping forward and stepping into this new identity. And then, and then we just keep rising as we are like releasing some of the more dense energies and the limiting beliefs. So that's where I am this year, is working with a coach, resolving more of my past stuff, but also being held in like the future version of me.
Wow, sounds like very, very deep work that you're doing. And, you know, healers also, is what I'm noticing, like they are just like anyone else and need healing and support and love and, yeah, coaches and all of
Yeah.
that. So I'm so glad to hear that yeah, that we're all kind of walking each other home, is what I call it. Like we're just all going through a different motion of the same thing and supporting each other.
Mm. Yeah, and I think as you've walked it, you can help other people. So I think, healers go into the healing work because they've walked the path, the painful path, and the uncertainty. And so they're able to say, like, I know firsthand that it can get better. I know firsthand what's available for you. And so they're able to really help people to evolve.
Well, this question that I have next is about inspiration. And what is your inspiration? Whether, it's like a person or a dream, what inspired you to move into the work that you do now? What was that spark of inspiration?
Hmm. Yeah, let's see. So, what inspired me was probably just, I guess, what we're talking about is my own inner healing. It was, not wanting to settle in life, not wanting to just feel like life is a chore, wanting to feel fulfilled, wanting to be, inspired in my day to day. And so I was seeking that. And so I just let my desires guide that fulfillment, and to guide that joy and that inspiration and that interest. And so by letting that feeling guide me, it's brought me to where I am. And it's continuing, like you said, we're like always evolving. Like I'll always be a learner. Like I've pivoted in my business a few times, and I'm going to continue to pivot. Like I see, even like within the next 6 months, there's another pivot coming. Um, and so the inspiration is just to really just to live a really fulfilled life, to feel happy and joyful, and amongst the pain that we will have. It's inevitable. It's just part of life.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that and inspiring us, and reminding us that sometimes that's kind of all we want. We all kind of want the same thing, is to be happy. And um, yeah, I think, yeah, it connects us all. Yeah, then I'm curious what your 20-year-old self would tell you. Yeah, if you could talk to your 20-year-old self, what would you tell her?
Mm. Okay, so my 20-year-old self was like night and day from what I am now. I was I was in college and I was drinking a lot and eating really bad food, and I was sick a lot. I think around the time I was 20, I had two major surgeries. Um, and so, my goodness, if I could talk to my 20-year-old self, I would tell her to stay on track with her truth, because I let that go a lot of times, just to fit into the surrounding that I was in, with the people that I was in. I let go of who I was, in my soul. So I would tell her to trust that inner drive, that inner desire, that inner passion, the curiosity that I had for healing. Trust that and let that guide you. To not be so fearful. It would have changed the whole trajectory, but at the same time, who knows if I would have wanted the trajectory changed, because then, I might not have had my daughter. I might not have had some of the more painful experiences that I have that really shape the the wisdom that I have and the knowledge that I have and the work that I do. So I really do believe that everything happens for us. So everything that has been painful that I could have circumvented, maybe I wouldn't have wanted to.
Gotcha. And in terms of the pivoting that you talked about earlier, um, yeah, I'm curious to know where, if you feel comfortable sharing where you're headed, the direction, and yeah, anything that you want to share with us about, yeah, your professional services and what else you want to contribute to the community.
Yeah, so just to say a small bit about what I'm pivoting towards is to really focus on the transitions that people experience. We all have, the small transitions that we go through, year after year, going from grade to grade, or um, just the seasons, or the more minor transitions. But then there are the big transitions that, like divorce or career change or a major illness. We have these like huge transitions. And so, something that I've gone through myself, that I've walked through myself, and have a lot of curiosity and wisdom around, is wanting to work with people to help them like see themselves in nature through these transitions. So to know that they're not alone, and to like look to Mother Earth for similarities and support and guidance, to help to bring like a little bit of a peace to the transitions. That's the direction like I'll be moving into in the next like 6 or so months.
It's exciting. So, I mean, you're helping me with transitions now, so I'm glad to hear that that you're moving to that space. So thank you.
Yeah.
And yeah, before we wrap up, anything else that you want to share with us? Any maybe any information resources that you want to share?
So I am at leahcrescenzo.com, or Hey Leah C. It's easier to find me at Hey, Hey, Leah, Leahc.com. And that's where my services are. And I'm on Instagram, but, very lightly on there. And I can offer a discount to your customers, and we can discuss that. And you could always put that in the show notes.
Oh,
And, and Kat, if I can turn the table on you, if
yeah,
you feel comfortable.
sure.
Because you were such an inspiration, as I said before. You had this really creative idea that was very soul driven. I'm curious where that came from, just to share with your viewers a little bit about yourself and what you've walked.
Yeah, so I had some major transitions happening in 2020 and in 2021. I started drinking this tea called Blue Lotus tea, Egyptian Blue Lotus to be in particular. And I started drinking this tea, and just for background, I had suffered anxiety. I was on SSRIs, so antidepressants, and I really wanted to regulate my nervous system. And I had tried different things like breath work, yoga, meditations. I mean, I had tried a lot, and I still continue to try different techniques to help me manage, stress and anxiety. And I was meditating regularly, daily, on a daily basis, and during one of my meditation sessions, which involves, I drink my Blue Lotus, and then I lie down on a mat or I sit up like this and I meditate. And I don't have a timer. It's just an automatic kind of letting my body guide me and clearing the mind. And I received information. It was, and people talk about downloads. Uh, I I always thought, like, what is that? And uh, I got a download, and it was funny because since then I haven't received too many downloads either. It's like that one was the big one.
Hmm.
And essentially, in the meditation I received, it was like almost a knowing, and it was frequencies, and it shared with me the different teas to blend and how to blend them and what crystals and what frequencies. So it was just very precise. And yeah, I was just, after I meditated, I wrote everything down just because I was like, I don't know what this is. It feels weird. Did I lose my mind? And later on, I sat with it, and I started blending my teas for myself. And then last year, a friend of mine saw all my teas, and I've been giving my teas to my friends. She said, you should start selling it. So this January is when I opened a website, created a website, and now I've been selling my teas, and just really excited to like birth something that came out of a meditative state, that came from my love for teas, my love for healing, and bringing it to the forefront.
Wow, you should see how you light up when you talk about it. It's like so your soul's calling. It's amazing. Like you light up when you talk about it, but it's also a really inspiring story.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I still sometimes don't believe it, but yeah, it was beautiful messages. And yeah, it's taken a while for me to have the courage to share it. And yeah, and I'm sharing it now.
Yeah, you are, and I feel like so considering you just started in January and you have the website and you've created your blends and you're selling teas already. It's like it sounds like you really got moving right away. And so what makes you feel inspired to do this type of work?
For me, it's been a labor of love. Like, it's something that I'm doing already for myself. So I was already blending these teas. So now I'm just blending them in bigger quantities and using frequencies. So I have a resonance, bioresonance field that I can create any frequency that I want. So I can tailor teas to whatever frequencies. And there's so many frequencies. There's like quantum frequencies, which are hundreds of different frequencies playing at the same time, or I can choose rife frequencies. Rife is like a specific hertz that is used to treat an ailment or stress or a very specific cause. So I have a variety of the frequencies, the speed that I can play them. So I could have them play faster, slower, sine, cosine, because frequencies are, if you look at how they're shaped, you can have them different shapes, frequencies. So it can be very complex, but I try to keep it simple. I genuinely, like, when I meet someone that wants frequency teas, I ask them what they would want the intentions around it, and we place intentions, and then I can choose a frequency that's around that intention. A lot of times people like abundance, so a really good frequency for that is 888 frequency. So I'll use that. Some people really have specific frequencies that they want, and then others, we figure out what the ailment is, stress. You could do all kinds of different diseases, chronic headaches, migraines, whatever you're looking for it, and we could tailor the frequencies to that. So I was already kind of doing that for healing. I healed my heart using frequency healing. I connected to my higher self using frequency healing. And so essentially I wanted to create a path for others that maybe don't have access to the technology, but can drink a cup of tea that's full of the frequencies that they're looking to bring into their life. And so we are frequencies, and if we consume the teas and drink the teas, we can also infuse our bodies with the frequencies that we're looking for. So what inspires me is that we can change our frequency, we can change our reality. And drinking a cup of tea, doing something so simple, a simple act of drinking a tea full of healing, nourishing frequencies, is such a great and easy solution to the problem that a lot of people are facing, which is, how do I change my frequency? How do I get into the right frequency for what I'm trying to call into my life?
Wow. And so you're doing these, are you creating these custom for individuals?
I am. So if people want customs, I have customs. In general, I've been keeping them to the abundance frequencies right now, but I can make them into any frequency. So when you go to my website, which is www.frequenties.com, you can custom order, or you can order ones where I've intuitively put in the frequencies, so that in general you'll have the abundance codes in them.
Yeah, abundance is a really good one. And I think with abundance, it could be abundance of love or money or success or opportunity. So I'm sure abundance covers a lot of the areas where somebody is looking to make a shift.
Exactly. So that's what most of my, if you're not customizing, most of them are to the 888 abundance frequencies, so that you can call into whatever it is, love or finance or business, having more abundance in that as well, and health. It's the best frequency, I think, to be using, especially right now. It calls in so much.
Yeah, and speaking of that, like right now, so it's so interesting how you said, that you were feeling blocked in 2020, and then you're seeing like there's blocks in 2025, and I think that this is like a really significant period of time in history that we're in, and your business and what you've created is something so cutting edge that it couldn't have even been fathomed to your 20-year-old self, right? It's so brand new technology, and like such a source of healing that wasn't available. So on that note, what would you tell your 20-year-old self?
I would say in those times, there was a lot of worthiness issues. Self-love didn't exist for me at all. And it actually really didn't exist until my 40s. I think when I had my second awakening in my 40s, I kind of realized, like, who am I? And putting myself first was something that I hadn't done. And then 2025, I had to do it even more with my health. And I realized it even more this year, actually, that I had to like up the game on self love. So to my 20-year-old self, I would say self love is number one. You are worthy, you are loved. Self love means putting yourself first. and it's okay to put yourself first over others. I think many of us women maybe struggle with that. And I think it's normal because we're kind of wired that way, especially if we're mothers, caretakers, or even, partnered. We put others ahead of ourselves. And I never knew what it was like to put myself first until, till I had my, in 2020 and in 2021, after I went through some massive shifts. And then now I feel like it's like even a deeper dive that I never even imagined was possible. And what self love looks like to me is so different than what I even thought I knew. I don't think I knew at all in my 20s, 30s at all what loving myself, how that looked like, and what that meant.
Yeah. And you're speaking to something that is so universal, and you're right, like it's primarily with women. And I also can say that it's the times, like we are coming into a new space and era that a woman can even think that she's lovable without having to perform in some way, shape, or form. That she's an equal and that she's meant to be, and she's reclaiming her power. And so, yeah, you and I both, like, to speak to our 20-year-old selves. It's just the healing that was available then wasn't available as it is now. And so it's great that you've been able to cultivate that, awareness is right. Awareness is number one, and like cultivate the self-love, and to know that you can even expand on it and show your son, be an example for your son.
Yes. Yes. It's my 20-year old self wouldn't have even understood the concepts um, that allowed me to even create frequencies. At first, I didn't understand, like, I understood the download, but I then was like pushing it away. And then I told myself, like, I wrote it down and kept looking at it. And I realized, if my 20-year-old self got that download, I would have just completely erased it and not even written it down. But, um, but because of knowing how I was connecting with my soul, and my meditations were part of that process, I knew when that information came in, it was like almost like my higher version of myself, or like, you know, like a higher version of Cat, or from a different dimension or something, was telling me this. It wasn't, and it was something I already knew, and I did push it away, but then I also knew, I was like, this this is me, and this is what I'm already doing. And like now I'm getting some confirmation that, like, this is like beautiful, and this is healing, and that is a place that is from my heart and not from like my head. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I could see, a lot of people pushing that information away, to not understand where it's coming from, or even like how it's going to play out. I think a lot of times we need to see like even further into the future of like, oh no, this is possible and it could play out this way. But you really like went on a whim and took the information and went with it. And so, do you have any advice to share with others that have a download or have some sort of soul aligned mission that they'd like to start?
I'd say writing it down as soon as it comes in, because if you don't, it could be such a beautiful creation, and it will get filtered out because it's coming from this subconscious place. It's coming from this deeper place that we don't have access to once we're fully awake and fully living our lives, and especially if there's stress or kids or other things to draw our attention. So writing it down. Um, and then the number two thing is, don't I felt like it was like crazy and weird, the download. and I would say that was probably like my ego or some part of myself that didn't want to act on it, or it didn't want to even value it as something to do. Um, and so I would say, try to not let that voice take over, and try to check in with your heart and see, like, does my heart light up when I think of this idea? If it lights up, then move forward. And if it doesn't light up, it could just be an idea that's not meant for you to bring into fruition.
Yeah. So it sounds like that part of you that you are calling your ego that thought like, oh, this could be a crazy idea. That is the part of you. You're right. It's well, one, you're right. It's like you subconsciously got the information because you were in a different brainwave state. You were in a different consciousness when you got it. So it was a subconscious information. So then you write it down, and there's a part of you that thinks like this is crazy. That part of you is the consciousness that's trying to protect you from ridicule, from standing out, from failure. And so, like, of course, it's going to try to throw you off course and make you not take steps to put this very like source given, God given, universe given, like creative. It's like it was just such a creative gift that was given to you. It could have really gotten thrown off course, but you trusted it and you put that you quieted that voice, the ego voice. And so that's really truly inspiring that you are where you are now.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing all of this, all of your gifts, and for interviewing me today.
Oh, thank you. And yeah, just so thankful to have you uh, be not just part of my life and transformation, but the podcast. And hopefully, we'll see more episodes. Maybe we can have you come back on, because I love talking about energy and frequency with you, and hearing more developments on your pivots, and yeah, just in hearing more inspirational stories from you.
Yeah, me too. I hope to hear more. I know you're interviewing other soul aligned businesses and people that are on a mission, but I hope you're including yourself in it because you are quite the inspiration and somebody to follow. So I'd love to talk to you more about frequencies and the technology that you're using to put frequencies into the T's, and that's a very interesting concept. So I'd love to hear more about that.
We'll definitely touch back, and thank you for your time. And yeah, again, how can viewers get a hold of you?
On my website, they can schedule a call with me. It's a complimentary call to discuss like what they're going through and to see how any of the different ways I work with people can work for them. And that's at leahcrescenzo.com. So it's my first and last name.com, or heyleahc.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining, and have a beautiful, beautiful day. Bye.
Thank you, Kat. Sending you so much love.